So I have this book. It says an illustrated guide to garden flowers. I got it a while back at like a second-hand bookstore. Got it a few years ago. There's a picture there. Part 1 annuals, Part 2 perennials, Part 3 bulbs. So I guess I'll just read the introduction and get some tea. So, introduction. Flower borders ablaze with color from spring to the frosts of autumn are the aim of every gardener. However large or small your garden, there are many plants to choose from to help you achieve this goal. This colorful book is packed with detailed and readily accessible information about flowers to brighten and beautify your garden. Each plant is accompanied by a clear line drawing, together with information about the soil type and amount of sun it requires, propagation, and of course, when it blooms. Few gardeners can resist early flowering bulbs that cheekily peer out of the soil in spring, creating splashes of color when most parts of the garden are still drab and bare. But bulbs are not just for spring. Many flower right through summer and autumn. For instance, the autumn crocus produces rosy mauve flowers from August to October. Because the flowers are bare of leaves, this bulb is also known as naked boys. Annual plants are also included in this powerhouse of gardening knowledge. They are usually the first plants most of us are aware of as children. Youthful enthusiasm and a packet of sunflower seeds soon capture the interest of inquisitive minds. Few young gardeners are not excited by the immense bright-faced flowers that peer down from 1.8 meters or 6 feet high. Herbaceous perennials are the traditional brighteners of borders, creating dominant splashes of color from mid to late summer. A few, however, will even flower in late spring. The leopard's bane develops large, bright yellow daisy-like flowers, sometimes amid late daffodils. The traditional flower borders packed solely with herbaceous perennials are now seldom seen. They need a large garden, a vast number of plants, and a great deal of time to keep them looking at their best. Nowadays, these plants are either grown mixed in with shrubs, annuals, and bulbous plants, or in small beds that form islands of color amid a lawn. These beds need not be large, but 5 feet is about the minimum width. To keep the widths of the beds in proportion to their heights, the tallest plant should be about half the width of the border. Only those herbaceous perennials do not need staking or used, and this cuts down enormously on the amount of labor and time needed to look after them. You don't have to have a large garden to grow bulbs, annuals, and perennials. Patio gardens packed with tubs and troughs can look charming even in the smallest area. Spring flowering bulbs planted in combination with biennials, such as wallflowers, forget-me-nots, and daisies, in window boxes or tubs will soon brighten dull spots in summer. Hanging baskets are eye-catching when trailing with colorful annuals, while a few perennials can be a dominant feast of color in large containers. Agapanthus, with their umbrella-like heads in blue or white, look especially attractive when planted in a large square-sided wooden tub. So, part 1 annuals. I have my candle. I'm gonna get some tea. I keep the camera on that flower. Looks very pretty. So, there's the index. Those are orange jubilee. They look like marigolds. Is that the same thing? Those are pretty. I like pink. Introduction. Annuals are those plants that create bursts of bright color in gardens from midsummer to the frosts of autumn. They are increased from seeds sown in spring or early summer, which germinate, grow, flower, and produce seeds all in one season. There are two types of annuals: the hardy annuals, often known as HA, and half-hardy annuals, frequently known as HHA. The hardy annuals are sown where they are to flower, whereas the half-hardy annuals are sown in a greenhouse and planted out in the garden when all risk of frost has passed. Biennials are also raised from seeds. These are sown during mid to late summer of one year to produce flowers early during the following season. Not all plants raised each year as annuals are proper annuals, but to produce a better display of color they are treated in that way. For instance, both lobelia and salvia splendens are half-hardy perennials, usually grown as half-hardy annuals. Sweet williams and common daisies are perennials grown as biennials. And I get some F1 hybrids. Right. Left Levatera trimestris. This elegant species brings color to the garden in midsummer. The blooms are 10 centimeters or 4 inches across, borne on stems up to 1 meter, 39 inches tall. Lovely varieties are available. I guess that's this here. On the left. And below it says Brassica oleracea aciphala. Ornamental cabbages can be used to great effect as spot plants near the front of the border. Sow the seeds in spring and check for caterpillars. So some sort of cabbage then. F1 hybrids. In recent years, much research has gone into the production of many new F1 hybrid flowers. Gardeners now enjoy a much wider choice of variety than ever before. Although the seed of F1 hybrids is generally more expensive than that of other kinds, their advantages in color, flower size, plant habit, and general performance are well worth the extra cost of the seed. F2 hybrids result from first and second generation crosses made between two parent lines, specially bred and selected for their ability. That was nice. I like the red and orange, yellow. Very pleasing. Above, so this one, Tagetes patula, or yellow jacket, a beautifully compact French marigold ideal for edging a border. It's very pretty. Right, Tropaeolum majus, or whirlybird. This colorful nasturtium variety will thrive on the poorest of soils. That's this one. To produce the desirable qualities that the breeder has in mind and which go to make a good garden plant. In some instances, such as petunias, the introduction of F1 hybrids has almost completely superseded the older cultivars within the space of a few years. The range of species that are bred by this method is gradually extending to further enrich our homes and gardens. I'm gonna get some more tea. I wonder how long. I think I just realized I think all this section with the pages are a little bit orange. I think this whole thing is the introduction, and it doesn't actually start until this one. Wait, where is it? Yeah, page 20. I think that's when it starts. Where was I? Okay, propagation. All the kinds listed in this section are grown from seed. Many of these will not require a greenhouse or frame, but can be sown directly where they are to flower. In fact, a number of annuals with small roots or tap-rooted systems do not transplant readily and can best be sown where they are to flower when soil conditions are suitable. Some species that have seeds large enough to handle may be sown direct into small peat pots or other containers. This avoids both breaking off and the risk of root disturbance that may occur when transplanting seedlings. When seedlings are being pricked off or transplanted into trays from containers in which the seed was broadcast, they are best planted with sufficient space to allow development of the planting out stage. Thin sowings enable this task to be carried out as early as possible, before much root development has taken place. Outdoor sowings may be either broadcast in patches or put into shallow drills or grooves, drawn at intervals to allow for the full development of plants. The drills should be drawn in different directions if more than one kind of seed is sown in a border, so that the groups or patches will look less formal. Drills will be easier to thin and weed, particularly when seedling weeds are likely to be troublesome. Thinning should be gradual and done in stages as seedlings develop. On some soils, if difficulty is experienced in making a good seed bed, it may be an advantage to cover seeds with some moistening peat. As noted under certain species that are hardy, there is usually much to be gained in strength and in earlier flowering. If plants are sown in the autumn, in the event of a severe winter killing them, this does give another opportunity to sow in the spring. Many hardy annuals are admirable for filling in bare spaces in the garden after early spring flowering bulbs and plants are finished. Direct sowing usually start in early spring, as soon as the soil is suitably dry and crumbly. Position. Because many species need to complete their growth in one season, it is essential to give them the most suitable position possible and to allow room for their full development. A sunny site will suit most, but many will tolerate partial shade and a few full shade. Since heights vary, the taller varieties are best planted toward the back of one-sided borders, or centrally in a more formal area, or where the plants may have been viewed from various aspects. Those plants of intermediate height should be grown nearer the front, and the shortest or most compact kinds are the most suitable for edging. Annual climbers may effectively be used as a background on trellis or wire mesh, or even as groups grown wigwam fashion. There are many excellent kinds of plastic mesh suited for this purpose. Many kinds of climbers could be used to scramble over a hedge or old tree stumps or a bank where little else will grow. The tall climbing nasturtiums, for example, are very effective when used in this way. Culture. I'm going to show you the pictures first. So above, which is this one here, Eschscholzia harlequin hybrids, a stunning variety of the Californian poppy that will revel in a sunny and dry location, flowers all summer. Left, which is this one here, this little reddish one. This is Begonia semperflorens Venus, a compact cultivar of fibrous rooted begonia with relatively large deep rose flower. It grows in light moist soil. That's this one there. So, culture. Failures in all stages of development, from seedling through to a flowering, can often be attributed to such causes as over or underwatering, or seeds may have been sown too deeply or in unsuitable temperatures. Pests and diseases can also take their toll if precautions are not observed. Keep the soil just moist throughout their growing life, and if possible, water seedlings early in the day so they do not remain wet overnight, which encourages the growth of diseases such as those causing damping off and root rots. Watering from above in full sunshine may result in leaf scorch, and drying out seeds during germination may kill them, but some shading at this stage is usually beneficial, but should be removed before seedlings become drawn or elongated. A number of excellent seed and growing on mediums are now readily obtainable and suitable for growing most kinds of animals. The use of suitable greenhouse sprays and smokes as soon as any pests or diseases are observed should ensure healthy plants. The recommendations for thin sowing, whether indoors or out, must be noted. Overcrowded and starved seedlings rarely develop into vigorous plants. In any case, are usually difficult to handle. Hardening off. This stage of a seedling's life may be critical if sudden changes of temperature occur. Those plants raised in heat and intended for outdoor planting need to be gradually accustomed to lower temperatures and more airy conditions a week or two before planting out. This will depend on the species and the locality. Tender or half-hardy kinds should be protected from frost or wind or cold winds until very late spring. A short period during which plants stand in a sheltered position outdoors will help the hardening off process and avoid any check in growth that might occur. Planting out. The planting area should be prepared well beforehand, working in any necessary addition of compost or fertilizer. Seedlings should be watered a few hours before planting out and also afterwards, if the soil is dry. Spacing must be sufficient to allow the full development of the species. Of course, cultivation and weeding should be carried out at suitable intervals. Remove dead flower heads where possible to promote continued flowering and destroy any plants that become affected by disease. So that's the end of the introduction. So probably stop it there, and then I'll continue in another video. Thanks for joining me.